probably thinking, wait a minute, this isn't a traditional blog post, and that's because it's not. In honor of National Salad Month, I've decided why not pair together with my favorite folks at Glooko to go over this awesome, satisfying salad that's gonna help to keep your blood sugars within range and tantalize those taste buds as well. So your host, Bridget Wood, registered dietitian, diabetes care and education specialist, going to go over these awesome tips and tricks, just kind of reiterating everything that we've talked about within the blog series thus far, and kind of just doing it more in a fun way, I'll be honest. But jumping right in, as a dietitian and diabetes care and education specialist, what I've noticed with clients is that even though we provide them with tools such as a plate planning method, such as being able to estimate portion sizes using different body parts, such as different recipes online or different databases where they can find things, there's still some confusion on how to adapt all of that information into your day-to-day life. So here's where I come in. With the plate planning method, it can be hard for people to visualize the different aspects that are gonna help to keep your blood sugar stable. And when we look at the plate planning method, all it's doing is just taking those proteins, that fiber, that fat, and that carbohydrate, and putting it in the perfect storm, so to say, for your blood sugar so that it can produce the best result possible. Now, that is obviously going to depend on you, and this is not actual medical advice, so I would always recommend that you speak with your provider if you're looking for personalized recommendations. But generally, this could be used for the population, and it could also be used for people without diabetes and other chronic conditions because we have a little bit of extra benefits that I'll go over in just a second. So, to stay true to what I was going to say, here we are breaking down that salad into separate parts so that it's easier to understand and easier to digest, no pun intended. So starting off with the base or the greens. Honestly, guys, all different types of greens, it really honestly is whatever your heart desires. They all have different benefits. You know, you'll hear people say, oh, well, I don't do iceberg, I don't do romaine, I don't do this. Honestly, they each are beautiful in their own little way, depending on if they have calcium, depending if they have vitamin K, like this spinach or kale or mustard greens or collard greens, which are fantastic raw, by the way. Those items have different benefits, and you're still maximizing your blood sugar response because you're choosing something that has fiber, that's low in carbohydrates because these are a non-starchy carb, and will fill you up and keep you satiated for longer. So for today's salad, we're going to be starting off with a baby spinach base. Now, I will say I did pick this because I wanted to do a Mediterranean style salad. But again, you can do romaine, you can do iceberg. It's whatever works for your budget or whatever you have in your household. So we'll go ahead and put a couple of handfuls here. That'll serve as my base. Okay, now on to the fun stuff. So usually when I see clients talk about salads or people living with chronic conditions looking to change their lifestyle, they typically gravitate towards the bag salad that have the carrots, the cabbage, the lettuce, which there's nothing wrong with that as a base. However, we're missing out on some of those key components. So things like the healthy fats like cheeses, that aren't necessarily healthy fats, but hey, they're fats, so to speak. They're healthy for the soul. We have chicken that will have some fat if you keep that skin on, or if you choose things like chicken thighs, they're all gonna have some fat component there. Things like the salad dressing, right? We have some fat here, some carbohydrate because this does have honey in it, but we'll jump into that in a second. We also have the protein from the chicken, we have the protein from the beans, things that are gonna help to keep you full, satiated, and keep you feeling good for the rest of the day, which that bagged salad without all those items, unfortunately does not have that. So I recommend, again, first things first, making sure that you have that protein, that fat, that carbohydrate component. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add the veggies first, just because Honestly, these are gonna have the least impact on blood sugar levels. They're going to add a lot of flavor without much impact on that front, or even on any impact on negative impacts, on heart health, on any types of digestive health, anything that this will provide, providing that you don't have any allergies or any other intolerances to these items, will help to make that blood sugar response as beautiful as can be. So we'll take some of these red or purple, depending on where you're from, onions. We're gonna place these right here. Make sure if you're making this for lunch to bring outside of your home that you have some mints, because onions obviously can make your breath smell. You wanna be mindful of that. We have some cucumbers. So cucumbers, also a non-starchy vegetable, going to add that crunch, that texture that sometimes people are craving when they're looking to make a satisfying salad. They're missing that different texture that's going to take that brain response and make it exciting, right? So we added some cucumbers there. And then we're gonna actually take some sun-dried tomatoes. So these are not gonna have any added sugar, but what I like to make my clients aware of is that sometimes things do. So you wanna look at that nutrition label. So if you look here, it's just tomatoes and sulfur dioxide to maintain color. But things such as pickled beets, or, you know, sometimes we might do something else like in the vegetable realm that might have some sugar added to it, like sliced jalapenos sometimes can have some sugar if they're the sweet and spicy variety. So it's making my mouth water thinking about it. So you just want to be mindful of that and look at that ingredients label to see if there's any added sugars. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy those items. You just have to be mindful and make an adjustment with the portion sizes, especially depending on what you're doing with the rest of the items. So that's pretty much it for my vegetables. But again, any non-starchy vegetable, you want to make sure that you add to the plate. So you do have the salad, but to really get the more bang for your buck, choosing things like onions, choosing things like cucumbers, choosing things like peppers, tomatoes, artichokes, all those items that really aren't going to impact the carb amount that much and allow you to eat more to fill you up. You want to make sure that you check those off that list, okay? Now, moving on to the carbohydrates. So actually, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't want to do that because I want to save that for last. We're actually going to move on to the fats. So this is going to be kind of a combo item because, as you heard me mention earlier, the cheese, source of fat. The chicken can be a source of fat as well that can impact blood sugar levels, along with the salad dressing. So this salad dressing was homemade. I used avocado oil. You can use olive oil, you can use grapeseed oil, you can use any oil that is going to have light flavor to create your own salad dressings, or those unsaturated fats for that heart health benefit for anyone who's suffering from any chronic conditions. But the reasoning behind that is that it adds a satiating impact, so it keeps you full for longer. Not only that, when it does that, it's gonna help your body slow down the way that this salad is digested. So the blood sugar response, it's much more minimal. You won't experience as much of a spike, especially depending on if you're including things like fruit or any other carbohydrates like croutons, things along those lines that could potentially cause a spike depending on what your management is, right? So we'll go ahead and do that. This is already measured out. I actually did get this from a pickup order, and they gave me fat-free, so we won't have to worry about the fat component as much. However, if we would have gotten the full fat like I asked for, that would have been something to consider because it can impact those blood sugar levels depending on the amount and the combination of all the things that you are utilizing in your salad, okay? Now, the salad dressing is also a component to keep in mind. I'm gonna keep it pretty minimal with the 2 tablespoons, the standard 2 tablespoons of salad dressing. But if you're somebody who loves dressing, or if you're using a ranch or blue cheese, something with a higher fat amount, again, when you're building your salad, be mindful, make that mental list of those carbohydrates. Those things are going to impact the blood sugar levels, because if we swing too hard on the carbohydrates and we have an amount that you don't bolus enough for, or your body ends up having a spike after, the additions of those fats might have that negative impact and can also cause your body to slow down on the digestion. And so therefore, slower digestion, higher amount of carbohydrates, delayed response in blood sugar levels, which you might have a delayed spike and be wondering, what is this from? It could be from the salad, all right? We won't add this until a little bit later just because I want to drizzle it on at the end, but I just wanted to make sure that you're aware. For this purpose, it is considered a healthy fat. It does have that heart health benefit of that avocado oil. So just keep that in mind, okay? So we added all these veggies. Now it's time to move on to the chickpeas, which are not only a source of just protein, but they're also a source of fiber. And that's what? Going to keep your blood sugar levels stable. Exactly. Yeah, you've been reading my blogs. So it's going to delay the digestion. So those blood sugars aren't going to respond as quickly as you would expect. And it helps to slow things down. Also, certain types of fiber, they're not digested. What that means is it's not going to have as much of an impact on your blood sugar levels. So keep that in mind too when you are dosing, with your insulin and taking your medications for your meals, okay? So we chose chickpeas for my vegan and vegetarian friends. However, you can choose things like nuts, you can choose things like seeds, you can choose things as other beans. Those can serve as a protein source. Or for my vegans and vegetarians, you can do tofu. For my vegetarians, you could do the cheeses, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. Just because you are following a specific diet, there's always gonna be an alternative that you can use to help to get the same impact, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and add those in here. And excuse me for using my hands, but also this is gonna serve as my lunch for tomorrow. So it doesn't matter because I'm the only one eating it, right? So we have the chickpeas, we're adding it there. All good to go. This chicken. So this chicken, you're probably wondering, wow, did you sit here, make a whole chicken? No, I did not. I am so busy, I don't have time to do that. So we like to use shortcuts where we can. I decided to pick up a rotisserie chicken. It's the perfect meal planning, meal prepping tool. You could always get it, pick up a couple for the week if you have a family, debone it, and you have a ready source of delicious, hopefully cooked protein ready to go. So I decided to eat the skin because I love the skin, but you could always leave it on. It does have a source of fat, nothing wrong with that. Again, being mindful that if you do choose things like the thigh, it's gonna have a little bit more of a fat content than you were to have with the breast or something like that, okay? So I did measure this out on my food scale. It's about 3 ounces or about the palm of my hand, which is one of the recommendations for some people, the generalized population, for protein. So we'll add that here. Make sure we get all of that ready to go. Make sure we don't have any stragglers. And then we have almost a satiating and satisfying salad ready to go. So what I'm gonna do is add on some of these chopped chives that I had chopped to go in the salad dressing, which I'll give you more details about that in just a second. But basically, I like to have as much flavor as possible without the blood sugar impact, right? So I also live with type 1 diabetes. And while I do know that I am a carb counting pro, which I'm a diabetes care and education specialist, sometimes I don't have to think about it as much. I don't have to think about the different impacts on if I do end up, giving the wrong carb amount by some, act of the universe where somehow I misunderstand or the portion size. It happens, I'm human. Sometimes I don't have to think of that. So I just choose items that I know I am a pro at bolusing for or taking medication for, or just some simple nourishing items that are gonna be great for, honestly, well, everybody. So while I kind of explain this, shake this guy up, I do wanna go over this awesome salad dressing that I made. So store-bought is just fine. Honestly, more times than not, that's what I'm utilizing. But since we're being fancy today, I wanted to show you this awesome salad dressing that I made that came together in seconds, utilizing some things I had in my pantry. So, with any homemade salad dressing, you do want to make sure that you have an oil base So this, I use avocado oil, but again, it does not have to be this. You can use olive oil, you can use grapeseed oil, you can use canola oil. Any of those heart healthy oils, you wanna make sure that you incorporate, and it ends up being a heart healthy fat, right? I also utilized some spicy brown mustard for a little extra kick. This also does have some honey, or excuse me, not honey, cane sugar and maple syrup. So with that being said, if you're making items that have that sweet component, that salt component, again, be mindful of this ingredients on the label, because you might be setting yourself up to have a little bit more carbohydrates than what you originally planned for. We added some balsamic vinegar, not gonna have any type of impacts on the blood sugar, at least no negative impacts. Those chives that I mentioned, again, considered non-starchy vegetable, honestly considered an herb, no impacts on those blood sugar levels. Let's set those guys back over here. And then I use half of a lemon just for that little extra ting, that little extra flavor. Again, no impacts on blood sugar. And then we have our honey that is optional. So one of the myths that we hear are that people without diabetes cannot have honey or regular sugar. I just wanted to include this in to say that is not true. Again, it is going to depend on the amounts of things that you're having, your portion sizes, your balancing, and your management on that you have prescribed by your doctor and registered dietitian, okay? So just keep that in mind whenever anyone says anything to you. Okay, well, like I said, we have our oil, we have our vinegar, so about 1/4 cup of the avocado oil. We use a little bit of garlic in this as well, so a little bit of crushed garlic. I did about a clove. We had about a couple of tablespoons of the balsamic vinegar to make it a vinaigrette. Vinaigrettes typically have a little less fat if you are someone who has heart conditions than the cream-based salad dressings if you are buying them from the store or making them your own. It just keeps it a little bit easier. However, you don't have to make a vinaigrette. You can choose whatever you want. Mustard, again, a freebie, no impacts on blood sugar levels, except again, keep in mind this one does have added sugar, so moderation is key. We use those chives that I added in and chopped in as well, a little bit of salt and pepper, and we're good to go. And you shake it up in your jar, and then you have a nice little salad dressing for your lunch and for later on during the week. So 2 tablespoons is what I would recommend, but I'm just gonna drizzle this guy on here and then eyeball it. But there you have it. So we have a fantastic, satisfying salad that I'm spilling on my counter because I'm so excited. I'm gonna put down below in the details the recipe for this, the reasons why these ingredients are what they are and how they can help your blood sugars. But until next time, please, please, please share with us how you enjoy the salad, or even share your own salad creations, your satisfying salads with us, and make sure that you tag Glooko and all of your food and diabetes and chronic conditions experiences. And I will see you next time. Bridget Wood, your favorite friend in food, signing out. Bye.